And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Thursday, September 22nd. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are some of the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A northern Wisconsin tribe ramped up its push this week to stop a proposed iron mine, meeting with Governor Scott Walker to voice their fears the mine would destroy their way of life. The Bad River Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa held a 90-minute news conference before meeting with the governor of Wisconsin and his aides behind closed doors at the state capitol, telling reporters the mine presents an imminent threat to the air and water quality of the region. "This is our land. This is where we live. We just can't pack up and move," Council Member Frank Connors said. "Our land is our culture, our history, which runs deep. We came here to protect it." Gogebic Taconite wants to mine a 25-mile stretch of the Penokee Range in Iron and Ashland counties just south of the Bad River Reservation. The first phase calls for mining a 4.5-mile stretch of the range, which would entail blasting down to the ore and creating a massive pit. Company officials claim the project will generate hundreds of jobs and revitalize the region. They want to conduct additional studies of the area, but first they want Republican lawmakers who control the state's three branches of government to repeal environmental protections for air and water quality around the mine. No formal bill has emerged as of yet, though. The Bad River Tribe and other environmentalists fear the mine could pollute the Bad River watershed, which drains to Lake Superior, and hurt air quality and potentially kill the largest wild rice bed in North America. The council reiterated its opposition to the mine to reporters, calling the company's job creation claims propaganda, warning the mine could ruin the wetland sloughs where the tribe holds its traditional rice harvest, and complaining the tribe has been left out of all discussions about the mine. "We want to bring the debate down to the details, not the mantra of jobs," the council's attorney, Glenn Stoddart, said. Gogebic Taconite President Will Williams said the tribe's concerns are nothing new, but suggests lawmakers could have a bill ready soon. He stressed the company does not want to weaken air or water quality standards. Walker's had said he supports the mine as long as it doesn't hurt other sectors in the state. Wiggins said representatives from the state's other 10 tribes joined the Bad River at the meeting in a show of intertribal support. He said the governor listened to the tribes but didn't comment to anything. Mick Isham, Secretary-Treasurer for the River Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, said Walker was upset the Bad River chose to hold a news conference before meeting with them. The efforts to prevent the mine come on the forefront of an informational discussion of organizations in northwest Wisconsin sponsored by the 7th District Democratic Caucus on October 1st at the LCO Convention Center near Hayward from 4:30 to 6 p.m. to discuss and listen to issues involving efforts to recall the Wisconsin governor, who has been termed as one of the most divisive governors in Wisconsin history. Last week, it was discovered that at the height of protests against him in March of this year in Madison, Wisconsin, Walker quietly and without notice signed an executive order ending affirmative contracting to women and other ethnic businesses in Wisconsin, including tribal contractors. For more information on that meeting October 1st, you can call 715-354-7454 or email to sept1939@jrecoop.com, and that email is on the board for you to read if you want to write that down. As Governor Andrew Cuomo and legislative leaders consider building casinos off Indian reservations to boost the state's economy, voters in New York think they should take the chance, according to a poll released this week. Cuomo first raised the idea as a revenue and job producer. He noted New Yorkers are already gambling at Indian casinos in New York and Connecticut and other casinos in Atlantic City and elsewhere. Legislative leaders are now considering a constitutional amendment to allow non-Indian casinos in New York, a move that would require voter approval. The poll shows 56% of registered voters support creating casinos away from Indian reservations, which now have a monopoly in casinos in New York under federal law. The Federal Indian Gaming Regulatory Act supersedes a ban on casinos in the state constitution when it applies to tribal governments. A last-minute agreement allowing nearly 3,000 descendants of slaves once owned by members of the Cherokee Nation to vote for the tribe's principal chief was being hailed this week by supporters who called it a major victory in the group's decades-long fight to become a fully recognized tribal member group, while cautioning that the war is still not over. At least 2 tribal attorneys hailed the compromise hatched a day earlier outside a Washington, D.C. federal courtroom as a milestone for the descendants known as the Freedmen, because it was the first time the Cherokee Nation admitted in a federal courtroom that the Freedmen had tribal rights. The compromise calls for extending balloting for those in Saturday's special election until October 8th so that those qualified to vote can be notified and participate. Previously, hundreds of Freedmen descendants were told they could not vote, and then they were told they could cast provisional ballots this Saturday, but those ballots would only be counted in the event of a court order. Attorney Ralph Keene Jr., who also represents Freedmen clients in tribal court, applauded the compromise, finally inked between the Cherokee Nation and attorneys for the Freedmen this Wednesday morning, but referred to the ongoing federal case that would ultimately determine who is a citizen of the nation. Saturday's special election for the leader of Oklahoma's largest tribe was ordered by the tribe's Supreme Court after several recounts from a flawed election in June were reversed several times, with the longtime chief and his challenger each being declared the winner twice. Tribal experts believe the Freedmen could swing the vote to a new leadership of one of the country's largest tribes. Chad Smith, who was chief until a temporary replacement was named after the June election, has actively campaigned for the last decade to remove non-Cherokee freedmen from the tribe's voter rolls. His challenger, longtime tribal councilman Bill John Baker, also backed the removal, but not as vocal, and is believed to have the support of many Freedmen who will vote. A Central Illinois high school is putting the last link to its former American Indian mascot up for sale. Bloomington High School in Illinois plans to auction its life-size statue of an American Indian at a Booster Club event on October 1st, according to Principal Tom Moore. Bloomington's high school sports teams are known as the Purple Raiders, but the local school board decided in 2001 to discontinue the use of American Indian as its mascot. The statue carries a shield and wears shoes and other items in purple and gold, which are the school's colors. The district considered finding the statue a new home, such as the McLean County Museum of History, but instead choose to hand it over to the Booster Club for a fundraiser. A federal appeals court panel this week left in place an order exempting a Seneca Indian Nation mail-order businesses from complying with the taxing laws of states where they sell cigarettes. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals rejected government arguments that Judge Richard Akara's July 2010 order granting a preliminary injunction was an abuse of his judicial discretion. Arcara state enforcement of certain provisions of last year's Prevent All Cigarettes Trafficking Act, concluding a group of about 140 Seneca businesses were likely to win its legal challenge against them. Akara refused to block other key provisions as well, including one barring retailers from shipping cigarettes through the mail, which forced numerous Seneca businesses to close. In staying the taxing provision, Akara said the law's unprecedented requirement that sellers follow the taxing schemes of the cities and states into which cigarettes are shipped and distributed by the manufacturers could have far-reaching effects and deserve a closer look. And that is another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to thank you for joining with us, and you all come back again soon.